Hello? Wait, stop what you're doing for a second because I just felt something and I need to share this with you right now while it's still fresh. You know that electricity, that thing that happens between two people where it's like the air changes? I just got hit with this wave of recognition about it and okay, just stay with me. Okay, so there's this thing that happens sometimes between two people where the space between them feels charged, like actually charged. You know what I mean? It's not subtle, it's not gentle. It's this intense pull where both people are feeling it and maybe not saying it, but definitely feeling it. Does that make sense to you? It's like when you're in the same room with someone and every cell in your body is aware of them, where they are, how they're moving, if they're looking at you, and you can feel that they're doing the same thing. This mutual, this mutual intensity. Have you experienced that? And what's interesting about it is how consuming it can feel. Like you're both drawn to each other in this way that feels almost, I don't know, magnetic, where part of you wants to close that distance immediately, and another part of you is like, wait, this is a lot. I need to think about this. There's this tension, real tension, and it's not just physical, even though, yeah, there's definitely that element, but it's more than that. It's like you're both recognizing something in each other that you've been looking for, or maybe something you didn't even know you were looking for until you felt it, you know? And when you're in that space, when you're feeling that pull, time can feel weird. Like you could talk for hours and it feels like minutes. Or you could be apart for a day and it feels like forever. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar. Because there's something about this kind of connection where the usual rules don't apply, the usual pacing, the usual guardedness, the usual let me take this slow and be careful. It all just kind of dissolves. Not because you're being reckless, but because something in both of you is responding to something real, something immediate, something that doesn't want to wait, and that can feel scary because you're used to protecting yourself. You're used to keeping some distance, some control, some ability to walk away if things get too intense. But with this kind of mutual pull, that protection starts to feel less important than the connection. Less important than what you might experience if you actually let yourself move toward this person the way you want to. Does that make sense to you? And I think what happens in these moments is there's this awareness that you're both feeling the same thing, that it's not one-sided, that the intensity you're experiencing, they're experiencing it too. And that recognition, that changes everything. Because it's one thing to want someone and not know if they want you back. That's familiar territory. You know how to navigate that, how to protect yourself from that. But when you both want each other, when you can feel that the desire is mutual, that the pull is mutual, that this hunger to be closer is happening on both sides, that's different. That requires something different from you. It requires you to actually receive what you want, to actually move toward it instead of just fantasizing about it from a safe distance. And maybe that's where you are right now, in the space of recognizing that there's someone who wants you the way you want them, where the connection isn't theoretical anymore, where it's right there, available, mutual, intense. And part of you is like, yes, absolutely, let's do this. Let's close this gap. Let's stop pretending we're not both feeling this. But another part of you might be hesitating, might be thinking, wait, if I actually let this happen, if I actually move toward this person the way I want to, what then? What if it's too much? What if I lose myself in it? What if it doesn't work out and I've already invested all this intensity? Have you noticed that too? Because there's this thing that happens when two people are both drawn to each other this strongly, where the possibility of union of actually coming together. It's exciting and terrifying at the same time. Exciting because finally, someone who matches your energy, who wants you the way you want them, who isn't playing games or holding back or making you guess. But terrifying because what if you actually get what you want? What if this person becomes real in your life instead of just potential? What if the fantasy becomes reality, and reality is messy and complicated and requires you to show up in ways you're not sure you know how to yet, you know? And I think there's also this thing about timing, about whether both people are ready to actually act on what they're feeling. Because you can both want each other intensely and still not be in the right place to actually build something together. You can both feel this pull and still have work to do on yourselves, still have patterns to break, still have clarity to gain about what you actually want from a connection like this. And that can create this frustration where it's like, we both feel this, we both want this, so why isn't it happening? Why are we still in this space of tension instead of resolution? Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar, but maybe the tension is part of it. Maybe the space between wanting and having is where something important happens, where you both get to feel into whether this is just attraction or whether it's something you actually want to build with. Because devouring each other, merging completely, losing yourself in someone else's energy, that can feel incredible in the moment. But it's not sustainable. It's not how lasting connections are built. Lasting connections require space. They require both people to remain themselves even while coming together. They require boundaries and clarity and communication, not just intensity. Does that make sense to you? And maybe what you're both navigating right now is how to hold this intensity while also staying grounded, how to move toward each other without losing yourselves, how to honor the pull without being reckless with it. Because the wanting is real. The mutual attraction is real. The sense that something significant could happen between you, that's real too. But what you do with it, how you approach it, whether you let it consume you or whether you build something intentional with it, that's a choice. That's something you both get to decide. And maybe you're in that decision space right now, feeling the pull, feeling the mutuality of it, feeling how close you could be to actually experiencing what you've been wanting, but also feeling the weight of that choice, the responsibility of it, the awareness that intensity alone isn't enough to sustain something real, you know? And I think when two people are in this space together, when they're both feeling this draw toward each other, there's often this moment where one of them has to be brave enough to be clear, to actually say what they want, to actually name what's happening instead of just feeling it in silence. And maybe that's what's needed here. Not a rushed merger, not a loss of self in someone else, but honest communication about what this is, what you both want it to be, whether you're actually available to build something together or whether this is just intensity without foundation. Because you can want to devour each other and still need to have real conversations. You can feel incredibly drawn to someone and still need to know if your lives actually align, if your values align, if your visions for what a relationship could be actually match. The poll doesn't answer those questions. Only communication does. Only time does. Only intentional exploration of whether this chemistry translates into compatibility. Does that make sense to you? And maybe you already know this. Maybe you're already aware that there's more work to do before union becomes possible, before this intensity becomes something sustainable. Or maybe you're in a different place. Maybe you're both ready. Maybe the timing is actually right, and what's needed now is just the courage to actually move toward each other instead of circling. I don't know. Only you know where you are in this. But what I do know is that mutual desire it's powerful. It's rare. It's something worth paying attention to. Not because it guarantees anything, not because it means everything will work out perfectly, but because it's an invitation to explore, to be brave, to see what might be possible if you both actually choose to build something instead of just wanting from a distance. And whether you take that invitation, whether the timing is right, whether this becomes something real or remains something felt but not acted on, that's unfolding right now. That's happening in real time. And you get to participate in that unfolding. You get to make choices about it. You get to be honest about what you actually want and what you're actually available for. So, yeah, that mutual pull, it's there. It's real. You both feel it. And what happens next, that's up to both of you. I don't sell futures, I build architects. No predictions, just the raw truth for the tough ones. Stay magic, stay in the now.